Alright, good morning everyone. Today's July 10th, Friday, and we're going to see how this goes. So I'm just going to kick this off by doing a quick pre-market prep, see if anything looks good for the morning, compare my notes from yesterday, and see if we have anything that aligns for a good trade. Might be quiet for a little bit, but I'll try to let you know what I'm doing along the way. So it looks like yesterday and this week we had some U.S. consumer defensive stocks popping. It's been a challenging week because of the new Iran flare-up that happened. It looks like the U.S. is sending the Navy back, and I guess Trump did some more strikes. So that typically makes oil spike. It doesn't look like we have much activity on oil this morning. Battle is a sector leader for oil. We had a kind of a big run at the initial news of that ignition of the conflict, but it sort of tapered down. I'd be looking for a crack through to the 110s because oil tends to psych everyone out and go the opposite way typically, unless it truly is running, in which in that case it can go really, really high. So if we zoom out here, you can see oil can rip. I think this was the initial start of that Iran conflict. Over here, I think it was in March, so that big spike. We had oil battle go from $2.30 to $29, which is insane. I know a couple people captured that move, which was crazy, but also a lot of them lost money on the backside. So yeah, keep that in mind. I'll just kind of flick through, see what's going on real quick. So basically, it looks like today we're looking at maybe U.S. tech, Singapore tech, and if any consumer defensive stocks pop up for the U.S. So just had a couple of these in mind. From yesterday. See, there's some volume here. It's a Chinese stock. Looks like it got some volume pre-market. Let's see how much. Not too much volume. I gotta take that off my watch. There. Lucy looks like got some pre-market volume, a lot of pre-market volume. So we had like over 6 mil pre-market volume on that little spike there. Looks like it got a catalyst. So let's see, AI catalyst. Okay. And let's see what Lucy is again. And yeah, I might jump off screen here. I use dilution tracker to kind of check what the stock's all about. Check on dilution. So it's called dilution tracker, but it gives me all the information I need to see about dilution and where those levels are. Dilution, if the company's cash positive, what sector they're in, what country. Just a real quick glance at what the company actually is. So you might see me hop off, and I tend to glance at that pretty frequently. Okay, so Lucy is U.S. healthcare medical instruments. Got some good volume there. I might potentially look for an entry. Down and below the ones, potentially down low 90s. So I'll set an indicator here. So if this price tends to move, if it moves down through 1 and we get low 90s, I might take a position there. But we're going to keep looking, see if anything better comes up. Looks like we're getting some the volume here. CRE 67K. Not too much. Volume. Low. I'm just gonna keep them on the watch. WC. I don't want to touch them unless they give a catalyst. And I'm just gonna flick through my first day watchers, see if anything else is moving this morning. Yeah, not too much multi-day action. It seems like in this market we tend to get like a first day spike and then sort of a fade off. But I have seen some new action on day twos. So that means like the second day from the initial volume that poured in. So I might be checking those out if I see any. That's kind of interesting. That's the Chinese stock again. Pets. VTAC, kind of interesting for maybe a third day surge type play, which is where it spikes on the third day. We had a big kind of liquidity trap yesterday. So no volume there. Sorry, it's like a 5 mil volume coming down from almost 200 million volume. So that could be a potential third day surge, which is there's big volume first day, no volume second day, and then you get a spike on the third day. So might keep an eye on that. And these tend to work from open. So they'll tend to open and start getting volume, light volume, but they can climb. So keep an eye on that. Lucy ticket volume. Yeah, we're looking at Lucy. Keep that one on the list. FTHM. Circ looks like a recent IPO, so it kind of just got listed. I have no edge in IPOs. However, this one does look somewhat interesting because it got so much volume yesterday. So I have it on my watch list just to keep an eye on. RKTO was previously HOTH Hoth. I think it is a US bio, I believe, or UK bio, but had a good run yesterday. Not sure how it's going to behave on day two. I don't have any reference for UK bios just yet. Okay, so nothing too interesting as far as multi-days. I'm just going to check through some other watch lists real quick to see if anyone else is moving. Somewhat interested in these Asian stocks again because they, for some reason, were running when that Iran conflict picked up. So I've been recently trading mostly Chinese and Hong Kong area stocks for whatever reason. Just going to take a look, see if anyone's getting pre-market volume. Well, this guy's getting a little bit. We keep seeing this one pop up, but nothing. I mean, that's a lot of volume though. Nothing too convincing, but I might throw it on the watch just to see what happens. Yeah. Okay, so we got action here. So I tend to only trade really sub $3 stocks. So once they start getting away from $3, it's sort of over for me unless I'm holding it. But it looks like we had a really good spike here on GMM. This one went from $1.85 yesterday after hours. It's up at $6.85 right now, which is insane. So I'm gonna kind of take a look on the other page of what this stock is. And okay, so we have China Tech, cash positive, sub $7 million float. So that sort of piques my interest in Chinese stocks right now because we had this big run here, pre-market, so huge volume pre-market. I'm not going to touch it because it's a little too high for me now, but if I see another Chinese stock, it might be a little more interesting to me. CCTG. What happened there? 6.0. So yeah, this company announced an offering. An offering is basically a huge, basically like a dilution event where the company or the brokers dump shares on the open market. This is primarily why people think small cap is a scam, because the companies use these services or use the financial markets to raise funds. And one of the ways they do that is dumping shares into the open market, and that will cause a price collapse and pretty dangerous factor there is the dilution aspect of small cap trading. That's where you see these pumps and dumps, and that's what's going on. Is the company will pay PR teams to promote their company, bring in volume, so bring in retail traders, and then they'll dump shares on those retail traders and institutional investors to raise funds, and that's something we really watch out for. Okay, so nothing too much going on. I'm definitely going to take an interest in the Chinese stocks if anything pops up on my scanner for day ones. So I have just a quick list here of multi-days. But now I'm going to kind of go through my scanner and see if anything is fresh this morning. Let's see if anyone's bringing in new volume. Hopefully we see something Chinese going on here. take a look at the scanner. And this is just a simple percent gainer scanner. So see anything that's kind of moving pre-market that's gapped up a certain amount. So it comes onto my radar. Let's just quickly flick through these, see if anything looks interesting. Looks like a pretty quiet morning. Soon is a solar stock. I forgot which country. I believe it's the US. It might be California. Minnesota. Okay. Yeah. Had a good push yesterday, and the previous day after hours went from 187 to 85. Not sure how it's going to behave on day 3, but I see a little perk of volume there. Nothing too convincing. Yeah, not much on the scan this morning. It's been a pretty quiet week. A couple big runners, but a pretty dampened week, I think, because of that renewed Iran conflict. Macros don't usually affect microcap too much, but they definitely have an effect. And I think that renewed conflict is kind of putting a bit of a damper on most things. But still, there are opportunities everywhere. You just gotta kind of find them. Not seeing much though. Wrap keeps popping up on my scans. Big volume yesterday, but nothing after hours or pre-market really. I mean, there's something there, but it might be a. They did have a catalyst. Strategic transaction. Whatever, I'm just gonna basically take this article and paste it into ChatGPT and let it spit out what I need to know. Just check that real quick. Okay, so it does seem like somewhat of a legitimate catalyst, even though all these small cap catalysts are typically just kind of pumps to get volume to come in. The stock is a bigger float, So not as small as I'd like it to be, but it does move. Obviously, it moved yesterday. We've got warrants, so we're definitely in their dilution territory. We have warrants at 145, 180s, 150, 60s. Okay. So let's see if they got cash. Company is cash positive, 14 months cash reserve. So I will add it to my watch list. I don't really see much of a play here. Potentially, if it cracks down through the 190s into the potentially 170s, could maybe pick something up in the 170s area. And hopefully get some volume. But yeah, not sure yet. Just keep it on the list. I'll check my other page for other movers this morning. Have we seen this one yet? I think we already looked at it. Yeah, this one was getting pretty big volume. Good run there. That's that Chinese one. Okay, HAO. Okay, here's something. I think HAO is also Chinese. Let's see, China advertising comms. Make sure they're not doing an offering or have warrants. Looks fairly safe. They do have a shelf without a baby shelf restriction, so that they could dump that into the open market. But other than that, it looks pretty safe for a Chinese stock. Let's see if they had a catalyst. No catalyst, which is okay because the Chinese ones usually don't show a catalyst. Just okay, get pre-market gainer catalyst. 12. Right. Close that. But yeah, this looks interesting. I'm gonna zoom in and see. We got pretty good volume coming in. So this week we've had some real quick moves off the open. So a lot of times these would kind of pull a little bit and then give us a nice push up. It's already a little high this morning. I'd prefer to see it like a spike up here and then kind of a lower scoop. But it looks like we got some climb here. However, this could potentially give a setup. Kind of find my levels here. Got like a 127 maybe. And on a closer time frame. Yeah, pretty crazy. These do like to pull really tight at the open. Typically, like we'll get kind of we'll see what this does before market open here in this black space. But they do tend to pull really lightly and then give us a kind of a pop into the open. So I'd potentially, looking at it now, maybe take a 150s entry, ideally around 152, and then attempt to push it to at least 170, 180, even the twos, because this is definitely in play. Because if it's the sector's Chinese and it has a decent pre-market setup. So yeah, absolutely throwing this one on the watch. It's just a matter of finding a good entry. We'll get back to that in a minute. Here's another, looks like a Chinese pump this morning. ZBAO, I'm gonna check out their dilution. China financials. Okay. same. Huge pre-market squeeze on this guy. Let's see where we're at on this fib tool here. Yeah, these guys are tricky sometimes to find an entry, but from what I'm seeing this week and previous week is that they were giving kind of a morning spike type move. It always makes me nervous buying really early at the open, especially these Chinese ones. But I'm gonna kind of put a level down here in the 40s, and hopefully we get kind of a break of this structure here. I would be happy with that. I'm just gonna place an entry there. I'd like to see a breakdown of this support because I know most people are probably looking at this support and maybe risking off this level here. But I like to see kind of a crack of that support, kind of a breakdown, and then I like to get the bottom of that panic, and then ideally get a quick spike up to VWAP, which is that pink line. So that would be my ideal play there, and we'll see how this behaves in the next few minutes up to market open. But yeah, good option. CHSN, this looks like a US consumer. Let's see what CHSN is. CHSN is also China consumer, cash flow positive. Yeah, okay, so we got definitely a Chinese theme here this morning. Just gonna look at my notes and see what sectors were running. So China financial, we had a China financial yesterday run. So which one did I say was the financial? Was it ZBAO? ZBAO, China financial, yeah. So we got ZBAO as definitely fits this sector. So more appealing here. I'm gonna keep an eye on that guy. CHSN was Chinese consumer. Big moves, big volatility. We had just even a couple moves of 118, 176. Really loose looking. Yeah, I mean, I do like that 127 area. Okay. Even just a slight pull on open to low 120s potentially. I like the 122. Yeah, and the big range. So if I did happen to get an entry low 120s, potentially up to VWAP 145. So that'd be a solid trade, even into the kind of pre-market highs here would be great. Check on the volume. So yeah, huge volume, million plus just in this 1 minute. So a couple of those, but yeah, looks good. Definitely on the watch list for today. Let's see, just in okay. ELAB, I think is a US bio. Pretty decent volume, but it's not within the sector I'm looking at right now. Okay, just gonna check all my news alerts real quick. Yeah, it's good to see these Chinese stocks getting volume again. They do provide huge moves, but they're also quite dangerous to trade. So good volume on, actually, yeah, good volume, million plus on that bar. I do like that 210 area. Yeah, I'm just not sure how these are gonna behave yet on the open. Check my notes from yesterday. Check Hong Kong. Okay, so it looks like they're hitting kind of these low level or these high supports on the open. Yeah, I don't see a comfortable place other than potentially one at 227. In that 210 area. China medical devices, cash flow positive. Not too many warrants. They do have a shelf. Of course. Okay, so add that to the watch as well. Okay, Lucy, YYGH, their Chinese one. Big volume today on these Chinese stocks. A big run here, a big crack, but it did recover a bit. Yeah, I'll check its dilution. Singapore. I think we had a couple Singapore runners yesterday. Singapore Tech. Singapore Industrials. Okay, so Singapore is on the watch. From yesterday, we had a pretty good runner yesterday. Singapore. Not the prettiest pre-market setup, but it is worth keeping an eye on. So I will to my watch list there. Make sure we're not missing anybody. Wow, JZXN also big blast of volume. So a couple options here for sure. This Chinese stock. Looks like we have an AI catalyst. Big volume. Yeah, looks like we got that kind of the 139 level here. Let me go with 136. For that, man, we're running out of time here. We've got just about 6 minutes until market open. Yeah, definitely interesting looking morning. So yeah, I'm gonna take a quick break and then come back and trim this list down real quick. So just gonna pause this recording. All right. Okay, so I'm just gonna quickly cruise through these options and trim down my list here. Tags, I'm just kind of trimming down the ones that look least interesting. Pretty much in place for those Chinese stocks that we're running this morning. Lucy was, I think Lucy is Israel, US healthcare. Okay, so I'm really looking at these Chinese plays. Let's see if we can capture one this morning. Okay, so quite a few options. I guess top contender would be the financial one, which, what did we say, ZBAO? Yeah, so ZBAO is financial, so that kind of fits the theme a bit better. This was our Taiwan. I might just watch that walk. I might look at that. I mean, I don't think it's going to break down this far, but if it does, that could be a good opportunity for that 210 area. Okay, so got kind of an idea here. Let's see what sets up. Just gonna do my calculations to get my share size if these do trigger my entries. So Z, this guy is our top contender here. market's opening in 20 seconds. Alright, so let's keep an eye on check the macros. Looks like macros are good except the NASDAQ. Looks like we're getting pushes out the gate. Walk. Except on walk. And potentially CHSN. Okay, so just took a position on CHSN at 118. check the scan, see if anyone else is going. Looks like it's still all Chinese. Looks like we got a halt on JZXN. Walk, I don't think I'll touch unless it goes down to the 210 area. Looks like we got that crack on ZBAO. I'd wait for it to get probably lower 40s. Okay, I just took profit on CHSN. I didn't like the weakness, it kind of making me nervous. So just close that for some profit in at 123. Not a big trade, but I'm content with that. I just don't like how weak it looks.